at the Schilling Show, where the news is made, and right now online, the lead story, and I hope you'll check it out, actually the 1-2 punch, hot potato, Dems dump Dummler dialogue. That meeting that was scheduled for tomorrow with Chris Dummler and Ann Malik is now being turned into some sort of a mocking of Ken Cuccinelli by the Albemarle and Charlottesville Democrats, what they call a staged reading of his book. Anyway, we're glad Dummler's not there, but we would think they'd have better things to do. And the number one punch chamber pot, Scottsville Chamber president, dumps on GOP and praises Dummler. And it's there online that you can also see Cynthia Neff's claim that Chris Dummler received a death threat, and that's why the meeting was canceled tomorrow. We're still waiting for verification of that, but Cynthia apparently posted that on her Facebook page. Anyway, as the world turns, I'm pleased to welcome back to the Schilling Show Susan Stimpson for Lieutenant Governor. Embracing the Obamacare Medicaid expansion. We've seen a herd of rhinos led by Bill Bowling and some of the others rushing headlong to the Obamacare Medicaid expansion. Color me confused. Hi, Susan.
Well, hello. It is so nice to be with you again, Rob.
It's great to have you here. I wonder if we could step back for a second and get a little bit of background on the state's option, whether or not they wanted to expand Medicaid here in Virginia.
There's a bit of a dance that's going on right now, and I am concerned that we may be laying some things on the table that we should not be laying on the table. And I do understand that our leaders want to see a resolution to this issue, but in my thoughts, expanding Medicaid or even putting it on the table is only a pathway down to more entitlement spending that we cannot afford, and the federal government doesn't even have this money to spend right now, much less Virginia should not be laying it on the table. Now, I do want to say, and I want to be clear, the Senate did pass their amendment to expand. The House passed an amendment, but it did have more limited language in it. However, I still think it provides a path for expansion, and in my mind, if I were in the role of Lieutenant Governor, I would be using that leverage of the tie-breaking vote to push back on any expansion of this entitlement spending because we just don't have the money.
Well, and I agree with you, we don't have the money, but even if we did, I don't think we ought to be expanding entitlement spending, period. We have too much already. It's what's gotten us into trouble.
Well, there's a greater argument as well that this is about states' rights.
Yes.
And this is a federal overreach. And I disagree with the Supreme Court ruling. That was also another clever maneuver. Mm-hmm. And I think that Justice Roberts thought that he was being clever, but the only thing it led to was a successful implementation of the Obamacare health care. And so I'm not about being clever right now. I am about drawing the line in the sand. This is a states' rights issue, and even though President Obama won re-election, that doesn't mean the battle is over. It's now with the states, and it's up to our leaders to push back and to articulate why. And there are many reasons why this legislation should not be adopted.
Susan Stimpson, I'm so glad you're speaking out on this issue. It's been playing around behind the scenes, and a lot of people thought, well, gosh, we have a tie in the Senate. We've got a strong Republican majority in the House of Delegates. There's no way in the world that this is going to get passed. And yet it looks like it's at least a possibility. Has the governor indicated if it gets to his desk whether or not he'll sign it?
I do believe that yesterday he came out with a statement that was a little more forceful in just undergirding what he had earlier said about not wanting to expand. But I will be blunt with you that I have taken some criticism for speaking out in this way. And I will also say that I'm the only candidate running for lieutenant governor who is doing this. I think a lot of people who are in office right now are concerned about the next election. And I think that it's time to put some people in office who aren't making decisions based on the next election that's coming up, but they're making decisions in a way that is what is best for the people and is the proper role of government.
You make such a great point, and I've been saying this for a long time because I really get sickened by watching people sticking their finger up in the air to see which ways the wind is blowing before they cast a vote on something. And so what we need to do is to elect people who have a center, who understand what's going on, and who are willing to stand by their convictions. Are you getting criticized from people within your own Republican Party, or is this criticism coming from outside? Because I'd be very disturbed to think there would be Republicans criticizing you for standing up for limited government.
I think that there is a desire for people to get along and for us to be unified. And I understand that. And I have a record of bringing coalitions together so that we can move the ball forward on conservative principles. However, in this case, it's something that should not be put on the table. We are looking right now at what's happening with sequestration. I think that was a mistake to put such cuts on the table that it's debilitating the defense of our nation, and we're now in a position of having to try to maneuver around it. So I'm not about being clever. I'm about doing what is principled and right and leading on it. And I laugh sometimes when some people might want to float out there of wanting someone with experience. And I just want to say, oh, okay, experience at raising taxes, growing government, a bloated bureaucracy. That's not really the experience that I think Virginians are looking for. They are hungering for leaders who are unafraid to lead and who have that compass and that principle of moving the ball forward on a limited government. And I have a record of doing that in Stafford County, cutting taxes, cutting the budget, cutting general admin staff, jumping to number one in job growth, having millions of dollars in economic surplus revenue. Conservative governing works, and we need, our leaders to step up and to move the ball forward on that.
I think it's a badge of honor, and we're talking with Susan Stimpson for Lieutenant Governor. I think it's a badge of honor that people are very scared of you. There have been some smear campaigns going around about you, and I think if that is the case, it means that you've got people's attention, that you're saying something that worries the establishment. I think it's a good thing and should be considered a badge of honor. And you talk about uniting people and the party being united. Yes, we should be. We should be united on constitutional principles and those of small government. And I think you understand that very well. If people would like to be in touch with you, tell us how they can do so, Susan.
They can go to www.susanstimpson.com, and the convention is coming up. It's May the 18th. However, each county is establishing a method for sending delegates to the convention. So pay attention to your local Republican Party so that you can find out how to sign up to be a delegate.
Chris is on the line, and before we go to the break, real quickly, let's say hi to Chris, who's got a comment or a question. Chris, go right ahead. You're on with Susan Stimpson.
Thank you. Susan, I appreciate what you're saying. I'm getting the impression that there may be some people in the Republican Party that want to be more popular. They want the Republican Party to be more popular in order to get votes. And I am of the camp that we need to be principled over top of the popularity. And the Democrats are the ones that they hate when people come up like that stay behind principle and don't seem to be scared of maybe losing some votes. And that's when they start attacking that person heavily, as in Sarah Palin. And I'll just hang up. Thanks.
Okay, great. Let's have a quick response, and then we'll move on. Susan?
I agree. I think that there is safety trying to ride the fence. But I think that we are right on these issues and that we can persuade on these issues. Just like these attacks on Ken Cuccinelli, here's what I think we should be talking about. Ken has been a leader on the mental health issue. That is definitely something that we need to be addressing, not gun control, but dealing with the actual root of the problem. He has been a leader on women's issues and protecting them against sexual predators as well as children. Those are issues that women, that independents, that all people care about, and that's what I want to put on the table. I want to have conversations about limited government, but also why Republican principles are the right principles.
It's a good place to start, and education is the key. Susan Stimpson, thanks so much for joining us today on the Schilling Show. We truly appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Rob.
And we'll talk to you again very soon.